VFL Bochum, a classic mid-table Bundesliga club that slowly turned into a Euro club over the years that even got stuck 11 years in the second Bundesliga. In 2021, Bochum finally managed then to get back into the top flight of Germany and finished their first Bundesliga campaign in 11 years in a comfortable 13th place. We step now in the crucial second year of Bundesliga in as manager. We face a troubling aging Bochum side that has a 400-1 odds to win the league and is miles away from any other team in the league. The goal of this season is quite simple. Just don't get relegated, whatever it takes. Even a scrappy survival still give us a lot of money to build up for the next season. Also, for the DFB-Pokal, we don't care much about it. I take whatever it gives, but if we lose, I don't mind. Squad-wise, as said, we have an aging squad that has some bright lights in it, like Riemann, Asano or Hofmann. But overall, we are not quite Bundesliga ready. Also, we cannot improve the squad too much since we have no money to spend in the third season. So time to create a struggle tactic. With the team we had, I decided to play a low block 4-2-2 that I used with Brøndby in the beta. But I quickly realized we have an issue. We have quite tanky players up front, like Hofmann or Ganvula. But no one besides the wingbacks can cross to them. So my 2 AMs have to cut across or we're gonna lose a lot of balls. Then the friendly period started and I was actually happy with the squad and got the MLS and La Liga veteran Giovanni Dos Santos on a free deal. He should create some great depth in our striking area and bring some creativity to the squad that is a little bit lacking otherwise. But sadly, he directly damaged his hamstring in a training session and was out for 5 to 6 weeks. Nice. The highlight of the preseason was then our amazing game against Napoli. In the first half, Napoli got 3-0 up ahead, which was the point where I started to get doubtful over the season target, since the defense was crumbling like nothing and we didn't create any chance ourselves. But then, the team showed some fighting spirit that we needed over the season. First, Hofmann decreased the deficit to 2 goals in the 52nd minute. What was like an opener for us, since we then scored 3 goals in 7 minutes. With the score of 4-3, we then went more defensive, which got us in the end, since Napoli then came back and scored their 4th and 5th goal. But overall, a 4-5 against a Champions League team is not that bad, and if we show the spirit in the Bundesliga, then we have a chance to survive. With this amazing moral boost, we then went into our first competitive game, the first round of the... We were lucky in the draws, and got a 5th division club from Bavaria. But it wouldn't be the first time that I managed to lose an easy game like that in FM. Thankfully, it wasn't such a day. After 40 minutes we finally broke their defense and went up 1-0 thanks to Losilla. With the last try of the first half we then also went up to 2-0, which should seal the deal. In the second half Hofmann then got a brace and increased the score to 4-0 in just 2 minutes. But then our defense showed our weakness again and catch 2 unnecessary goals from 5th division side. Oof. Thankfully, Hofmann ended the madness with his 3rd goal of the game. With the 5-2 win over Eltersdorf, we then moved on to the second round of the cup quite easily. After the cup game, we then had our first Bundesliga match, where we faced Bo Svensson's Mainz side, one of the harder games of the season. The beginning was quite slow, nothing showed up until the 17th minute, when we got lucky and the ref blew a pen for us. Wow. Hoffmann kept the head down and gave us the lucky 1-0 lead. In the 33rd minute we then got lucky again, when Quater didn't manage to score an easy header. Mainz pressured us hard after the pen and it was only a matter of time until they equalized. And then in the 49th minute Onisivo finally equalized, so we are back to square one. And we have to change something up, otherwise we go down hard. But to be fair, berating the team was the only thing that was needed, since Hofmann then got us our 2nd goal in the 55th minute of the game. Now we have only one thing to do, put 11 man in the box and park the bus. And we parked the bus. After their goal in the 49th minute, they didn't had any shot on target for the rest of the game. So we start the season with a W and get our first 3 crucial points against relegation. Also, I managed to sign a quite interesting free agent for us in the Bundesliga veteran Horvath Nordweit. He should help us out in the back of the field quite decently. But then the schedule hit us hard. We faced Hoffenheim, where we had a tough 1-0 loss. Then Bayern, also 1-0 loss. In both games, we didn't had a single clear-cut chance. And to top it off, we also had to face EuroLeague participant Freiburg, where we got a lucky 1-1 draw, where we managed to survive a 3.13 XG Freiburg. It feels like Riemann's gonna be our winning factor. On deadline day, I had then to free up some wage space to get in my last edition and sold Mohamed Turba for 275k to Quater Fürth and Tarsis Bonga for 29k to Würzburg. I know, it's only 29k, but it helps out. With the freed up wage space, I then got Kevin Möhlwald in, on a loan from Union Berlin. With his 16 crossing and 15 passing, he should be our new right wing option. Find a player up front that can pass and cross. But who would have thought that luck was on our side? And he tore his knee ligaments directly and was out for 3 months. Nice again. After deadline day, we then had 2 6-pointer games against the newly promoted side Bremen and Schalke. And yeah, we blew it. First an uninspired draw against Bremen at home, and then a tough loss on the road against Schalke, where Terodde stole us the point in the bloody 93rd minute. For real. The loss against Schalke then got me to the first panic point of the season. And I changed from the 4-2-2 to a 4-2-3-1 formation. Also, instead of a low block, I went for a high press system to win the ball upfield, since we couldn't create any chances out of our own half. I also dropped Hofmann for Ganvulla after some really disappointing matches from him. With the new system, we then had to face at home a strong Cologne side. But FM is gonna be FM, and Cologne instantly got their first goal of the game in their first chance via free kick, where Riemann didn't look too good. Thankfully, only a minute later, Förster then managed to pick up the ball deep in Cologne's half, which showed why I switched to a higher press system. Also, Ganvulla fought hard for his starting position and scored instantly in their chance. From that point on, the game was quite balanced for both sides, until our left back decided it's time for an early shower. Nice. I know who isn't starting the next few weeks. So, we have 10 men against a strong Cologne side. We need a miracle here. Obviously, Cologne started to push more, but somehow we managed to hold up. And even got ahead in the 59th minute of the game, when Asano won the ball upfield again, and Ganvulla scored in the 1v1 situation. I think Ganvulla is now our man up top. We even then managed in the 80th minute to score from this amazing long ball, which sealed the deal for us. What a fight from the team to win this game. The next game then was quite a meme show. The game itself started quite decently, with a ping-pong goal from Ganvulla, but the advantage was only for a short time, since Werner equalized just a minute later due to a brain lag of Heinz. In the 25th minute, Andre Silva then used an easy tap-in chance to bring up Leipzig. After that, we finally started to settle in the game. Not offensive, but at least defensively. But at some point, Leipzig broke our defense again, and Andre Silva scored his second goal of the game. And Dani Olmo then finished us up with the 4th goal of the game. Obviously, the game wasn't over yet, since 2 of us thought it would be a good idea to get a red card. What a shit show. After that meme of a game, we then faced Frankfurt, where we luckily drawed 1-1 at home. At the beginning, it even looked better for us, since we went up ahead when Förster got us the lead goal. But Förster then decided he did enough for the game and got a red card. It's the 3rd game in a row with a red card for us. And I don't even use get stuck in. What the hell? Obviously, Frankfurt managed then to get the goal back and equalized in the end, thanks to Cologne. The next game then was a 6-pointer again, against Stuttgart. The game started off interesting, since Zagadou managed to give us a goal when he thought it would be a good idea to hold the ball on the goal line. And Asano could just press it in. I don't know, so not only our players have brain legs. After that, we then managed to be so passive that we didn't have another goal shot over the whole game. And even had luck when the VAR took off an offside goal away from Stuttgart. Surely not a good display, but I take a scrappy win. Next up was the DFB-Pokal, where we faced the mighty HSV. That is stuck in the second Bundesliga for years now. But I can tell you one thing, the HSV squad is way better than our team. So we have to put on our best display in this match. And we did, at least our defense. But the first goal of the day still went to HSV, when Glatze managed to sneak away from his defender and scored an easy goal. But our team didn't give up and managed to equalize just 10 minutes later thanks to a bad save from Heuer Fernandes. So we are back to square one, and our defense was back on track and blocked everything. In the 64th minute, Osei Tudu even then managed to score an amazing goal from tight angle, but Lebanon had something against that lead and scored a similar goal just 3 minutes later. Okay, another reset. Slowly my faith started to go away since we already gave them a 2.56 XG. So luck and Riemann was on our side, but just one unlucky step and we are out. Thankfully, the unlucky step came from the HSV, since we caught them once in a counter-attack and managed to score an amazing goal. Now, park the bus again! And we did it. When we can do one thing, then it's parking the bus. So with an eventful DFB survival, we then had a face-off against struggling Union Berlin, where we won with 1-0 thanks to Asano in a quite boring game. So far, the new system works somehow. Since the switch, we won 4 games, drawed only 1 and lost only 1 game. I'm a lucky genius or something. With this series, I was really hopeful that we managed to survive, but of course FM couldn't stand that and thought, let's let them stop playing football. And lost then 3 out of 4 games, and one of them were even a 6-pointer match. So with the loss against Wolfsburg, Dortmund and Augsburg, my faith was broken again. The only light I saw in this series of games were when we played against Gladbach, since we managed to hold them only on 1 goal and managed to get a lucky equalizer in the 92nd minute of the game. With this horrible series, we then went into the extremely long winter break, thanks to the deadly cup over in Qatar, which had one of the weirdest outcomes ever had in FM, since the USA somehow managed to get into the final and even managed to kick out the Netherlands. Oh yeah, SI, it's the Netherlands, not Holland, just saying. In the end, France had an easy title defense against a subpar team. Well, what a disappointment. FM, if you wanna hype me up, then let the USA at least win the cup. With this surprising final, we then headed into the window, where I sold 4 players, 3 youngsters that I couldn't hold up since they were not my standard, and Lampropoulos that only started in 4 games and was annoyed about it. To be fair, in the end it only gave us around 45k in the bank. But with these peanuts, I went nuts and brought David Kovnacki in for 1.6 million from Fortuna Düsseldorf. So, hear me out. I know, I totally overpaid for him, since he was in the last year of contract. But I was so desperate to get in a gold getter that I happily overpaid for him. And if he scores the amount of goals that I expected him to get, he gives us another 20 million for just staying outside of the playoffs. So I happily pay 1.6 million for getting 20 millions in the end. But then our transfer luck strikes again, and he catch the virus just a day before the first game. Also, Hertha Berlin thought it would be a good idea to offer 1 million a day before the match against them for Riemann. And of course, the one player that is wanted by another team wants to leave us instantly. Yeah, I know, 1 million for a 35-year-old keeper is a really nice fee for us. But Riemann is the only chance for us to survive. And in the beginning, he didn't want to leave. Or at least he didn't make too much fuss about the rejection. After these transfer shenanigans, we then started with a 6-pointer against Hertha in the later half of the campaign. And finally, the whole set piece training paid off, since Horn threw a bullet in the 50th minute to J that managed to tap it in. But our team could not go out without a bang and had to give away a pen on the other side. Weirdly, I wasn't worried, since this was the first game for the whole season where we had more position and more XG. Finally, we are in the driver's seat. And as said, the training paid off, since Möwald then delivered a perfect corner to Gordon. With this 2-1 lead, we then also finished the game by parking the bus again. But this high was only short-lived, since we then lost the next 2 games against Bayer Leverkusen and Mainz 05. And to top things off, Riemann randomly then decided to be annoyed about the second transfer rejection. With these 2 games lost, we then ended up, after 18 games, in the 15th position with 19 points, only 1 point ahead of the relegation playoff. And 5 from the first relegation spot. So if we want to survive, we have to pick speed up. And Esser has to pick up the strength of Riemann. The best place to pick up speed would be in the upcoming DFB-Pokal game. Since so far we are really good in the cup games, and Augsburg is also struggling with form. It showed in the match, since both sides missed the easiest goal, and thankfully Esser was ready to take over from Riemann. With both sides struggling to score, we went into overtime, where I decided to push a bit more, since if I wanna lose, then I wanna go down completely. And with the last chance of the game, we finally then managed to score via a corner. That was perfectly aimed on the head of Ganvulla. Set pieces. Mwah. With the last second goal, we somehow ended up in the quarterfinal of the cup. Who would have thought at the beginning of the season that we end up here? In the end, we played decently in the cup, but cannot reproduce it in the league. So we of course lost the next 2 league games. Okay, it was against Hoffenheim and Bayern, but still I want more. And I actually got it in the next game, when we faced the struggling Freiburg. We outclassed Freiburg over the whole game, and Möwald finally came into groove when he opened up the game with the 1-0 lead. And then we crushed their souls when we got our second goal in the added time of the first half. In the 79th minute, Möwald then finished off the game, which gave us some crucial points. With this good feeling, we then had another 6-pointer game against Werder Bremen, where we started strong. We didn't let them shoot once on a goal for 2/3 of the game, and even went ahead in the 50 minutes thanks to the strength of Ganvulla. In the 60th minute, we then got lucky when our offside trap worked tightly against Starke, and his goal got disallowed. Sadly, just 3 minutes later, Masimovic decided to not jump and let Starke finally score the equalizer. And that with Werder's first and only goal shot. Thanks, Masimovic. But we don't have time to dwell over this draw, since Schalke is coming up and we have to win this game. Well, we lost it like all games that we should have won. We started strong with a nice meme goal from Kovnacki, where the defender pushed him to score the goal. Thanks, mate. But over time we lost the grip of the game, and Schalke won more and more of the ground. And like all season, we managed to miss the goal at any chance. In the 60th minute, our new hero then arose, with Staffelidis, when he decided to not chase after Salazar and let him equalize the game. Some minutes later, Terodde then got Schalke ahead with a banger of a goal, where Salazar wasn't marked again. The next goal then came via a pen for Schalke, where Staffelidis again fought Salazar in a stupid position. With Terodde's second goal of the day, we then got our next defeat handed. But the game wasn't over yet, since Staffelidis thought it would be a good idea to tackle Salazar out of frustration in the 93rd minute of the game, and get a red card. Well, I can tell you who is now in the youth team and isn't playing for us anymore, and even made a fuss about his demotion, but to be fair, I don't care. I'm so annoyed about him right now. Better to move on and focus on the next challenges, like the game in Cologne. Well, that game brought me to the next tactical panic point of the season, since we managed to concede 4 goals in just one half. In the end, we managed to just hold them at 4, but still lost 4-1. So what is the next tactic? Well, we have so many strikers, but no one can get goals. So time to bring more manpower in. If one is not enough, maybe three are the way to go. So I ended up with a 5-2-3 where I changed the CMs to DMs when we face stronger opponents. And we directly faced a strong opponent with RB Leipzig. And it directly worked out since we finally scored more than just one goal. Mind blowing. We started things off with an amazing long pass from Horn to Kovnacki that then showed why I brought him in and finished it off strong. And the same connection then went off again in the 40th minute when we had a man advantage in the box and Horn had an easy pass to Kovnacki for the second goal of the match. But you never should underestimate Leipzig. And that showed in the 49th minute when Andre Silva finished a perfect through ball. But to be fair, it was like a wake-up call for our defense since they blocked everything after that point and we managed to keep Leipzig on 2 goal shots for the whole game. With this amazing unexpected win against Leipzig, I went on a high again and then got crushed faster than you probably thought, since we then lost 3-0 to Frankfurt. Yeah, it hurts. We have literally 7 players on defense duties. How do we manage to concede freaking 3 goals? I don't know right now. But right now isn't the time to question it again and hope that the DFB-Pokal is still magic for us. Maybe we can carry the magic over to the league then. And with Kaiserslautern we had one of the easiest quarter finalists. This time the game was not so magic, but we still managed to get an easy 1-0 victory without troubles. To be fair, that is what I expect from my lads. With this amazing win and a moral boost, we then went in our best series yet. First, we faced 2 must-win games against Stuttgart and Union Berlin. Stuttgart was a close game, but our 3 guys up front showed up. In the 20th minute, Kovnacki won the ball back in their box and delivered the ball perfectly to Hofmann, who wasn't asked twice to hammer that in. After that goal, we then started to get more and more of the game, but we just didn't manage to get our second goal. And only thanks to a newly back-added Riemann, we managed to stay up ahead for so far. In the 73rd minute, we then messed up our marking and gave VfB the equalizer. Riemann also couldn't do anything here. So I decided let's go gung-ho and threw everything up front. Finally, in the 80th minute, we broke their defense. Hofmann delivered a perfect cross onto the head of Ganvula that managed to score the 2-1 lead. With this lead goal, the game was then over, since we then parked the bus again and won the first of the 2 6-pointer matches. Next up, we then faced Union Berlin, where we got lucky, since Union's Haraguchi then decided to do a 2-footed lunge in the 9th minute. Well, time to turn this red card into a win. But we still have to be careful, since we are weak against the long ball. Thankfully, we then stopped the doubt in the 21st minute, when Ganvula scored a screamer of a goal. Somehow, we then couldn't get the second goal. Thankfully, Kovnacki finally finished the game up in the 60th minute, but he scored an amazing tight angle goal. With these 2 wins, we then ended up, after 28 games, on the 13th place with 32 points and had a lead of 9 points over the first relegation place. But we cannot rest yet. The next game was then against Wolfsburg, a game where I don't fancy any chances, and of course we lost it. But only 1-0, so faith is still there. And the moral was still there, which was shown in the Dortmund game. We started strong into the game and scored our first goal in the 15th minute when Kovnacki tapped in a reflected shot into an empty goal. Unfortunately, that advantage wasn't long-lived, since Bellingham equalized already in the 20th minute when he hammered the ball into the net from outside the box. Koppel then managed to save Dortmund by blocking a clear-cut chance against Ganvula in the 45th minute. And then, after the break again, a long shot hammer from Nordweit. Ganvula then again missed another clear-cut chance sometime later. Come on guys, we have to win this game. It could be already 4-1. In the 85th minute, we then finally managed to score when Asano perfectly putted a ball through to Kovnacki to get his second goal of the day. But the lead was short-lived again, since the youngster Mukoko scored from a mistake by Esser, and of course, it's the freaking first goal of the season for him. I was so annoyed at the time, since we should have already had a lead of 2 or 3 goals. After the second goal, Dortmund was totally switched and pressed on. But somehow, we managed to block everything and even got a late corner. And who would have thought we were lucky for once? And Hofmann finally scored to the 3-2 end score. What a win, lads. It should have been better, but a win against second place Dortmund is a nice effort and brings them some well needed points. With this amazing round, we then moved on to the DFB-Pokal semi-final. Against Cologne, surely the toughest opponent of the cup so far. Cologne started off strong, but thankfully Esser had a good day and managed to pick up everything. We also managed somehow to get into the lead in the 30th minute when Ivan Ordetz finally scored his first goal of the season. He couldn't have had a better timing for that. After that goal we were changed and got the control over the game, which seemed to annoy Katterbach since he decided to get his second yellow in the 45th minute. So, a prime position for us. A 1-0 lead, a man more. We have to bring this home. It took us longer than it should have, but deep in the second half, Stuttgart then finally managed to seal the deal with a nice meme goal. And with that, we somehow managed to get to the DFB-Pokal final. Please don't let me dream over Europa League. But of course, my hopes were crushed when 3rd division Dresden lost their match against Bayern. What a final! Bochum against Bayern, two sides of the spectrum. But before we have the final of the cup, we have to survive in the league, and it was closer than I would have wanted it. After that amazing win against Cologne, our players then decided they couldn't play football anymore and conceded one goal after the other. First, we lost 1-2 against Gladbach. Then a disheartening Augsburg loss that could have saved us. And to top it off, a loss against Hertha Berlin. Yeah. The fun part, we managed to survive without scoring any points, since Stuttgart struggled for themselves. Thanks to that amazing run in April, we somehow survived. Wow. Fun part? I didn't knew that I was safe in the Leverkusen game and went gung-ho. And it showed. Hincapi already started the game well for Leverkusen when he scored in the 2nd minute of the game. And to make matters worse, we then conceded the second goal in the 20th minute when Schick passed a lovely ball to Paulino for the 2-0 lead. I was fuming at the time, since I didn't knew that I was safe. FM veteran, by the way. I then threw even more bodies up ahead to score the needed goals, and thankfully we managed to get our first goal then in the 32nd minute. With this, we only need one more goal for my fake miracle. In the 62nd minute, the fake miracle came up when Kovnacki scored to the 2-2 and score. I cannot tell you how happy I was at the time that Kovnacki, my overpaid winter panic buy, scored the fake survival goal. And then meth striked, and I understood that I panicked without a reason. Yeah, good job me. At least a morale boost before the DFB-Pokal final. Well, time to travel to Berlin for the season-ending DFB final. I know, we don't need to expect anything here, but we can still dream and give it our best shot. Well, that was a disaster, so no EuroLeague. With this horrendous final, we then wrap up the season. Overall, we achieved what I wanted. A tight but manageable survival in the Bundesliga, and we even got runner-up in the DFB-Pokal. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? One thing is for sure, we have to change the squad up if we want to achieve more. Over the season, we only had 2 players standing out all the time, and that were both our keepers, with an amazing save rate. One thing is for sure, I have to bring out my transfer magic for the next season. Our next goal should be a mid-table finish, maybe sniff at the Euros. But DFB-Pokal wise, I don't think we can reproduce this year's run. Hey, thanks for watching this first episode of my Bochum save. I hope you enjoyed seeing me suffer with Bochum. If so, it would be amazing if you leave a like for the good old algorithm. Also, I would be grateful when you leave a comment or criticism for me, since this was my first attempt at an edited and scripted video. I hope you check out my next episode when we head into the second season with Bochum. Have a nice day and see ya!